This valve had a little carbon on it. Pushing the gaps. So the first ring is going to sit right there. Second ring gap is going to be over here. Alright guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be working on the Honda 400EX 1999. As you guys know, this thing was smoking very, very badly and we couldn't figure it out. So we tore apart the top end and we found that the piston was cracked by the skirt. The rings were out of spec, and then the valve seals were probably junk as well. So we finally got the valve seals in. I'll quick show you guys the kit I bought. It's a top end kit, valve seals, gaskets. So it's pretty nice. Let's see here. Here's the kit. Comes with the gaskets and the seals and all that stuff. So that finally came. That was taking forever. And then the piston is in the box right there. So we're all set. We've got all the parts, and then I've got the tool for it as well. That's in the truck for the valve seals. So we're all good to go. The first task is going to be getting these bolts that broke off out of the head here. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, and they're in there really, really good. I tried using the Dremel tool to make a little notch and heating it up and trying to break that out of there. That did not work. It just broke the bolt. You can see the little chip off of it. So what we're gonna do is get the welder out, weld a washer and a nut to it, and then try to crank it out while heating it up. I think that's the best option here. And then we'll move on to doing the top end, putting the piston in, doing the honing, and then putting it back together. So hopefully we can get some of it back together today, or the whole thing. We're gonna try, but depending on how long this takes is gonna be how far we get into the process. Anyway, stay tuned, should be pretty fun. All right guys, we got the welder out. Just welded the nut onto that bolt. So we're gonna try to crank that out. I've tried a couple different times with other ones, but it didn't work. Let's see if this one will work here. Then we're gonna heat up the actual bolt area. This goes all the way through, I think. No, this is the one that doesn't. But we'll heat up that area and then try to crank it out. I'm not very optimistic about it, but we'll give it a shot, see if it works. All right, guys, check this out. I just welded that nut on there. See if it cranks out here. Oh, it's coming now. That's pretty satisfying, not gonna lie. So what I did was I welded that guy on there. I'm on 7 for both. So wire speed and volts, arc volts, I'm at 7. That seemed to do the trick right there. Alright, 2 more to go. Alright, so we tried the welding again to this one and it snapped off clean. You can see it's right down. So what I had to do was drill out this one right here. Drilled that guy out, and then we're gonna just retap that for a bigger bolt. And it's not that big of a deal because the cam cover actually allows bigger bolts, so it's not that big of a deal. And then we'll drill out this one, do the same for that, tap that. That thing was not coming out. Even when I drilled it out, it didn't move at all. So I think it's welded in there. It's in there so tight. But we'll drill that one out, and then this will be fine. Tap those, and then start working on the valves. Alright guys, as we're waiting for my drill to charge to get that last bolt out of the head, we're going to quick take off the piston here and junk that, because that thing is just wrecked. So, alright, got our little pliers out. Take the little clips out of there. Let's see if I can get a better angle on it. One clip out. Push them out of there. Second one out. Push through the wrist pin here. That'll pop out of there. Piston should come off. So here's the piston right here. You can see where it was cracked. Right there. See the crack on the side right there going all the way. And then right there. And if you look through, you can see it went all the way through right there. And on this side, you can see it went all the way through right there. When you pull on it, you can see the gap get bigger in there. So, yeah, that piston's junk. It's deceiving. It looks really good from the top and on the sides, but when you look at that crack, that whole thing was about to just come right off. So let's take a look at the crank next. Alright guys, so the crank is right here. If you look, there's no play up and down. There's a little side to side, a millimeter, and that's fine. But up and down, no play whatsoever. I'm pulling hard up and down, and it's not moving up and down. So that means the crank is good. There's barely any play side to side too. I mean, that's less than a millimeter probably. Everything looks good down there. Yeah, it looks pretty solid down there. Quick show you guys. Nothing looks to be of concern. You can see no up and down play, a little bit side to side. So we got lucky and the crank is fine. Next step, we're going to probably look at the valve seals, check those out. We're going to get that last bolt out of there, out of the head. We're going to use the valve tool to compress those springs, and then that will give us access to take out the valves, clean up the carbon, and then change those seals. Alright, both holes are drilled out in this beauty now. One right there, one right there. So we're going to tap those, and then we should be set to go, and then get a couple new bolts, and that'll be brand new. Right now we're going to be using this tool called the Auto Valve Spring Compressor Kit. This is what it looks like. Bought this off of Amazon, I think for like maybe 20 bucks. So basically what this does is this goes between here and the other side of the valve like this, and then you put one end on this valve, one end on the top, and then it compresses that valve so you can take out these little pins right here. And that's the purpose behind that. Nothing too fancy, just a cool little tool. We'll use that, get those valves off of there, making sure to keep them in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, here we go, compressing the spring, taking out these pins. Alright guys, these two little pins came out. The top part goes on the top. So see how they're kind of tapered down? The ring part goes on the top, so this faces up, like that. So the tool looked like it worked pretty good. We're going to now decompress that spring, and then the valve can slide out of there. Let's quick do that. Alright, so you've got the double spring right here, like that. This is how they came out, just like that. Little washer thing at the top. And then you've got the valve seal that sits right here. So you can see these are like a brownish looking one. So it doesn't look too good, but so it looks like it's pretty hardened on there. Definitely looks old. Definitely looks like the original seal on there. So let's take that out and inspect that. Alright, first valve is out. We're going to do one at a time so we don't forget the placing of them, but you can see a little carbon built up on the end of it. We're just going to buff that off of there. But the valve is straight, nice and straight. That's good. Alright, got the valve seal off of here. You can see it's a little bit hard. It's not super squishy. I took off that little spring that goes right here, but yeah, it's not horrible, but it's not great. So let's clean up the valve, and then the valve seat, which is right here. Looks pretty good, so we can decarbon some of it and then put it back together with the new valve seals, and hopefully that prevents it from smoking. Alright guys, here's the reverse side where the valve actually seats into that thing. But yeah, that's all smooth in there, no carbon built up. So when you put the valve back in right here, it will be able to sit flat in there. So that's the one all cleaned up now. Now we just have to do that to all 4 of them. Alright guys, we got the brand new seal kit. Open that guy up, and we'll try to find the seals. We're going to do one at a time just so we don't lose the place of the valves here. Alright, so with these seals you want to lube it up before you install it. So you can either lube it with some grease or some oil. Alright, now just work backwards and put the valve back in there. This valve had a little carbon on it. Look at all that. And that's where it actually seats, so it wasn't closing all the way. But yeah, we'll get that cleaned up. I'm using a little Dremel tool with a little wire brush on the end of it. This is what I'm using. It seems to be working really good. I can go pretty much anywhere with this thing and go through all the little passageways, and it cleans up all the carbon and everything. Shines it right up. Alright, done with the head. We can see if we turn it around, all the valves are cleaned off, decarboned, and then we've got all new valve seals in here. These are all the old ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are replaced, all lubed up, good to go. Next we're going to hone out the cylinder. Next step in the process is going to be to hone this guy out, the cylinder. It's pretty much perfect, as you can see, 0 scratches in here, and it is at the original bore of 85 millimeters. So what we're going to do is just apply some light oil to the inside, take our honing tool right here, and what we're going to do is do a motion up and down with it, and then reverse the drill, and then do up and down again. And what we're going to get is like a hash pattern. So you're going to see lines going down, swirling, and then lines going up, and it's going to be like a triangle pattern you're going to be able to see. So let's try to do that, hone this out, and then we can install the piston, and then we'll be on our way to installing the cylinder and head. Take the drill, Alright, that's done. Now if you look closely, you can actually see the scratches on the cylinder. They're very fine scratches, and you can feel it's kind of roughed up a little bit. So that's going to help the rings on the new piston seat. So let's get the new piston and see if it fits in the cylinder. Alright, so we got the new piston right here. We're going to see the clearance. As you can see, the piston slides in there no problem. With the rings on there, it'll be nice and tight. But it's almost like a perfect fit. So that's gonna be perfect. Should have a lot of compression with that piston in there because it barely even goes down. It's gonna be just perfect. So clearances look good. No big gaps either way on the piston. It's not egg-shaped or anything, so I think we're good to go. We're gonna clean up the gaskets on the cylinder and then on the head over here. And then I actually got some bolts for the head. Some 6mm bolts. We're going to either tap those out or put a nut on the end of those. A lock nut with a lock washer right here. These two. So if I tap them out, I'm gonna have to go with probably a 7mm or 8, depending on if they can fit through this hole right here. But that won't be too big of a job. And then what we're gonna do is get all the old gaskets off, which the old gaskets are right here. And then there's old gasket right here as well. The base gasket needs to be peeled off. And usually how I do that is just with a razor blade. Take note, you don't want to scratch this surface at all. Otherwise you're gonna have oil leaks. But yeah, so let's take off the old gasket, put the piston on, and then start the rebuild process. Alright, time to put the piston on. All the surfaces are cleaned. I took a razor blade, went around the gasket. The old gasket took off all the old pieces. So we're ready to install the piston. Alright guys, let's put the rings on the piston. I already installed the oil rings and spacer right here, you can see. So for the rings, the gap needs to be 120 degrees apart. So for the first ring, we're going to put it right here. The gap's going to be right there. Second ring, gap's going to be right here. Third ring, which is the spacer, is going to be, the gap is right there. And then 20mm apart on either side of that is going to be where the oil rings go. Gap, gap. So that's how the ring gaps sit on the piston. If they were all lined up, oil could seep through, and that wouldn't be good. So that's why you have them all spaced apart. The kit comes with 2 rings like this. In order to tell the top ring, you're going to be able to see like the little difference between the colors. You can see like a little silver on the end of that. This one doesn't have that. This is the second ring. And the top of the ring will have a number. It says RN, so that means this is up. So that's going to sit like this on the piston, with this side facing down, RN facing up. And then with this one has a little R on it right there, so that faces up. And also it kind of like bevels out, so the sides kind of angle out like that, at like maybe a very, very slight angle. But yeah, that faces down then. So R faces up, and then the little thicker part faces down. So let's put those rings on. The gaps. So the first ring is going to sit right there. Second ring gap is going to be over here. It's kind of hard to get over there. And then the oil ring is going to go over here. And the oil ring is going to go 120 degrees away from that and sit over here. We're all set to go. We can put the pin on there and then put the piston on. Alright, ready to put the piston on. Make sure the in is pointing towards the intake side of the quad. You can see the in right there. Now we just have to put the pin on the side right here, and then we're done with the piston installation. Alright, so do you guys see the little clip in there? I'll try to zoom in so you guys can see. but I don't know if it's gonna focus. So see the clip in here? See how the gap is over here and not lined up directly with that hole? You want the gap to be lined up over here on the opposite side, anywhere but right there, so it can't pop out of there. Same with the other side. You can see the gap is right there. We'll focus. The gap is right there, not right there. So we're good to go. Piston is now installed. We are ready to put the base gasket on, which is going to go right here. I prepped it all and it's good to go. Here's the new gasket right here. All right, gasket's now installed. So if you look on the cylinder, there's actually a little O-ring that goes around here. Move it up a little bit. All right, time to get the cylinder on. Lube up the piston with a little bit of oil here. Looks pretty good. All the rings went on nice and easily. Should be perfect. All right, next there's 1, 2, 3, 4 big bolts that go down there. All right, now these bolts have a torque spec. Let me quick look that up. So the torque spec on these 4 bolts is 42 foot-pounds. We're gonna get the torque wrench, torque those down, and the cylinder will be permanently on this quad. We're gonna quick rotate the engine just to see if the piston moves up and down easily in the cylinder and just test it out before we go any further. Since this quad is electric start, it's a little bit tougher to test it. It doesn't have a kick lever, so intuitively, if you were building like maybe a 2-stroke dirt bike, you'd see the kick lever and want to push down just to test out the piston. With this one, you actually have to take off the little cap, and there you have access to a 17mm bolt in there. So what you can do is just twist the motor, and you're always going to want to do it counterclockwise. So you're going to twist it this way. Here you go, like this, with the motor over here. And we're going to be able to see the piston moving up and down if we correctly put the piston in. And then hold your chain too, because that's going to rotate as well. Let's see. Yeah, so it's really smooth right now. So there's probably no rings binding up. And now we're on to the head. So before we go any further, I actually left my torque wrench at my house. So I'm gonna have to run back and grab that before we can put on the head, which really sucks, but we made some good progress today in this video. Next video, we're going to be putting the head on. We've gotta get this thing timed up correctly. So next video, we're going to be putting the head on, cam, and yeah, then we'll put on the head and then the cam cover, and we should be good to go for the first startup. So stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have it done in no time. Yeah, it's coming along. Very, very exciting. Anyway, guys, if you need any motorcycle, ATV, or dirt bike parts, check out lap2.com. I just posted my KX250 up there. That's up there right now. So if you guys want to buy that, I'll give you a pretty good deal on it. Hit me up, and we'll see what we can work out. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time, we are out.